everyone. Thanks for coming despite all this crazy situation going on around the world. So this is a very different kind of lecture. The topic, it's not specific at all, and I'm not even going to give you any instructions. So what's the value of this lecture? Maybe it really isn't. I mean, if you want just specific tips on how to do ABC, then this is not the right lecture. Here we go meta. Meta means, for example, thinking about thinking, increasing our understanding about understanding. And that has been very, very important for me because I have been trying to solve very difficult, for example, health problems in my life. So of course I could just take one school of thought and try to follow their ideas. But maybe, I don't know, it has never been enough for me. I need to be the map maker. I need to be the CEO of my life, not just somebody following someone's instructions. So here I want to share you what I've learned through, like on a very bird's eye view level on what I've learned through these crazy 16 years of being into these things. Yeah, so it all pretty much started for me when I was about 20 years old and I went on my first trip to some distant countries to maybe discover some things about myself or about life. Everybody told me that don't trust anybody, don't do anything, just maybe stay in the hotel and take it easy and come back safe. And I kind of understand them because let's say that I have a crazy trip and crazy things happen and it's awesome. I'm the only one benefiting from that, not the people back home. But if something bad happens, then they kind of pay the price. So they try to make me just stay safe. And that's kind of what the society often instructs us to do. Just stay safe, don't really do anything, and it'll be all right. But then I met this a few years older guy who had been traveling a lot around the world. And he was the first one who understood that I'm not going there just to come back safe. I'm also going there to maybe discover something crazy, maybe something transformative on the way. So he told me kind of the first lifestyle design principle, the first meta-level principle. He told me that learn to recognize trust. And first I was like, can you be more specific? Like, what do I actually have to do? But then I realized, yeah, that's a meta-level instruction. That's something that I can develop in myself. And I really got it. And then once I got to Thailand or whatever, I didn't really know what to do, but I was like, okay, learn to recognize trust, like learn, try at least. So then I started looking at those people like, maybe he looks like a good guy, maybe I can trust him, maybe I can go to their home and maybe I wasn't staying at hotels, let's say. I mean, it was a crazy trip and I discovered a lot of crazy things. And not once did anybody treat me bad or anything like that. I learned to recognize trust. And then, for example, once I started doing this supermarket survival thing, I didn't go by some certain set of instructions. I went to the store and tried to find what foods are actually good for me. And more on that later. So yeah, when you go to the supermarket or anywhere, everybody wants to look their best. Who came here today to look their worst? No, oh, not me. I mean, of course, I want to look my best because maybe I want something from you, maybe I want to impress you, whatever, maybe I want to do business with you. So how do you know if I'm good or not? Well, the short answer is you don't. But there are signs that you can look at. Let's say I'm very generous about giving you my core value, giving you my best ideas, or just helping you out. Or you can see that I have a good track record of helping people out and sharing my best ideas and putting myself on the line so that the good things that I believe in might go forward in the world and things like that. Then you might deduce from that maybe I'm an okay guy, maybe you can give me a chance. And it still kind of, it's weird how many people base their decisions on just looks or just some advertisement or just somebody perhaps shouting louder than the others. We shouldn't do that. That's how we get into trouble. And a lot of people get in trouble, for example, with their health, because they believe somebody just because they're in a position of authority, things like that. This is very important for me in my life. I don't take people or things into my life very lightly. They have to have a good track record of actually being good for themselves and good for others. So this is something we can all learn. Neuroplasticity. I have a multiple sclerosis, but actually I won a tennis competition a week ago. I shouldn't be able to do that, but because my brain wasn't feeling very well like 2 decades back or so. Neuroplasticity is something that is very near and dear to me. And like it says there, boring is not beneficial. The society often, the culture often programs us to live very boring lives. And also, if I want to look important in your eyes, I can tell you that I'm very busy. Sorry, I'm very busy. And a lot of people nowadays, they are bored and they're busy, like almost all the time. And in the ancient Greeks, they had this concept of kairos time and chronos time. Kairos time is where you lose the sense of time, and chronos is the time where I'm looking at the time and how much I have left. But kairos time is where I lose my sense of time, and then maybe Teemu or somebody comes here on the stage and has to drag me out because I lost my sense of time. And that's the healing kind of time, and that's the natural kind of time. That's the kind of time that we lived in before we discovered, before clocks, before calendars, or anything like that. And it feels very good to live in that kairos time, live in the flow. So that's a big meta-level principle for lifestyle design. Because the society, the culture instructs you to go the other way, to live boring lives and be in a hurry. So don't be in a hurry, even though some people might think that you are important because you're in a hurry. I think there are 2 kinds of standards. There's the objective standards and there's subjective standards. The society instructs us to live according to objective standards, like don't speak for more than 20 minutes or whatever, things like that. You have to fit in to those rules. And subjective standards are the ones that have actually helped me heal. Subjective standards are, for example, that I want to work and live with people who are honest, passionate, who feel good to me. But those aren't the kinds of things that you can measure very easily. It's quite impossible to measure or make a rule that everybody in the society has to be passionate. It doesn't work. So I encourage you all to find your own subjective standards. How does life feel good to you? And is there something that you can do to make the world more of the kind of place that you can feel good living in? That's what I have done. Like, there's my supermarket survival, and then Nutrix is my first kind of small little book that I wrote pretty much 12 years ago. I mean, the question is, if you find what feels good for you and what life is about for you, how strong is your desire to live according to those standards? If the desire is strong enough, then maybe you can end up writing books to change the world in your direction, not the other way around. And I want to see the kind of world where we all are changing the world to meet our subjective standards, more than just fitting into some, let's say, medical model or like official nutritional recommendations, things like that. They don't really work that well. Our own standards work much better. Yeah, why we fail. I think at least for me, for the first 20 years, my experience was that if I want to be a good boy and maybe successful in life, I have to follow the rules. And then, if I want to have fun, I kind of have to break the rules, and that's not good. Like, fun is bad, and bad is fun. So now that I'm not like 10 years anymore, I need to learn to live in a way that I can break the rules for good reasons. Like when I was 10 years old, there wasn't really much that I can do differently that's actually beneficial in a win-win or win-win-win way. So nowadays, I'm probably more rebel than ever before, but I don't break things just for fun. I create and construct good things for fun. So that's what I encourage us all to do. And it's not anyone's fault that we have all experienced this kind of childhood where we are instructed just to kind of stay quiet in the classroom, things like that. Like that's a good thing. No, it's not really that good thing. I mean, you can follow every objective standard, you can follow every rule for the rest of your life, even better than all the rest. And still, you're not gonna really get anywhere. You're not gonna create any massive value in the world. You're not even gonna be remembered. So it's very, very important to design a good life for ourselves, to break the rules for the right reasons. Everything is a test. That's an entrepreneurial mindset. I have a Tesla. I just bought it recently. How many here have a Tesla car? Ah, you do, yeah. It's a nice car, and now I'm actually selling it. Why? Because everything is a test. If I test something, like for example owning a car, I'm not really going to know how it's going to feel. In economics, there's this term marginal cost and marginal benefit. Marginal means like on the margin, like the next one. Like for example, if you have, let's say you have 100 blueberries, how much more joy are you going to get out of the next one? And is it going up or down? Like, okay, let's say you've already eaten 1,000 blueberries. Are you going to enjoy the next one that much more? Maybe not, maybe not. Maybe it's actually less and less. So that's a decreasing marginal benefit. Most things in life have a decreasing marginal benefit. For me, the benefit, the joy that I received from owning a car, it was first quite high. I mean, I was stoked. And then it kind of started going down and down, and then after a while, it's like, I don't actually like this that much anymore. And then there's also the marginal cost. A lot of things in life, they have an increasing marginal cost. Like, for example, marginal headaches or marginal dislikes or things like that. And I didn't know it initially, but I found that owning a car actually gives you some bureaucratic burdens that you can't really automate. So I found that out. And now I'm selling my car. That's a very, very, very important meta-level principle for lifestyle design. Look for rising or at least stable marginal benefits and decreasing or at least low and stable marginal costs. And what are those things for me? Well, nowadays, something that keeps giving me more and more is, for example, my freedom to speak my mind, so that I don't have too many people in my life who I have to be too careful with, like, okay, if I say the wrong thing here on the stage, then they will hate me or they will fire me or something like that. It's better to be without that. And also freedom from like bureaucratic burdens, things like that. And also good people. Let's say here I find one more awesome person into my life. He or she is not really going to bother me too much. So the marginal cost is like pretty much zero. And if it's a good relationship, it just keeps getting better year after year. So freedom, people, those are two examples in my lifestyle design that really work for me. So I want to make as much space as possible for that. So that kind of makes me pretty much a minimalist. But that's just something to think about. Yeah. We are doing this Ketokamu thing. And we want to be anti-fragile. Anti-fragile is the opposite of fragile. Fragile is something that if you drop it, it breaks. Resilient is something that doesn't break as easily, but anti-fragile is like your muscle. When you use it, when you kind of break it a little bit, it actually grows back stronger. So we want to be like that. We're a startup. We're making better convenience foods for the Finnish market at this point. And we don't know much about what we even don't know. Like, I mean, we are beginners. So let's say that one day I tell the team that we should do our marketing this way, but it doesn't work. Can I change my mind? So this is a very, very important lifestyle design principle. If you're too rigid in your views, then you're going to drive to the wall and still you're not going to change your mind. So always be changing your mind. Because where you find the most value, you can't really see it from the numbers, because value is subjective, always. It's subjective, so I cannot tell you what's good for you. That's why I don't want to give you any instructions, because I don't know what's good for you. But you can only feel it in yourself. This is something that we often talk about, or even joke about with our friends, like, I'm so busy, I have so many things in my calendar. No, really, I don't. Yeah, this is something that we need to get over, because there's always a cost of commitment, there's cost of cortisol, there's the formula for cortisol there. And this is also something, like, I talked about good people, but so many of us, we try to make our relationships work. Let's say I get a really bad toothbrush that doesn't really work for me, and I try to treat it nicely, and I try to make the relationship work, but maybe I should just change my toothbrush. It's the same with everything. It's also the same with people. So many of us think that we have to just stay in the relationship. No, we don't. No, we don't. And let's say I spend 2 hours in bad company. The cost of that is much more than the 2 hours. So this is a very important lifestyle principle. Don't spend even 1 hour in bad company, because maybe it begets some kind of drama, and then your next day will be ruined because of that. So that's just something to put out there. And this is the last slide. So these are probably my most important ideas that have helped me the most. We always try to change our lives with willpower. Don't do this. You will get punished if you do this, and you have to force yourself to do this thing that you don't. So it's actually easier to go with our nature, not so much against our nature. Of course, I love people in my life who have very strong motivations, very strong intentions, but in most things we don't have all the time all our willpower and all our motivation. Most of the things in life we just want them to work kind of naturally. So if I want to change my diet, let's say that ice cream is my problem. I always go for the ice cream even though I shouldn't. Well, just get a better ice cream. It wasn't that easy. It used to be not that easy, but nowadays it's easier and easier. Or you can even make an even better, like Biohackers ice cream yourself. So that's something to think about. And also you can try out good things. You can add in good things. The more good, natural, high quality foods, for example, you find in your life, then the less you will crave things like candy or ice cream. And that's also why we have this Ketokamo startup going on right now, because so many departments in the, for example, Finnish supermarket, they have upgraded their quality a lot, but the convenience food section, it's still kind of almost the same. So now we are, I don't know how it's going to go, but we are trying to upgrade that also, so that changing the nutrition part of our lifestyle will just get ever easier and easier. So yeah, you can come talk to us, and you can, I think Ketokamo is around there, so you can try our foods out. And yeah, thanks.